my name is Sean, and this is another Booth Masters video. So you probably just got your PicStation Mini, and you got a box looking like, you got it in a box looking like this. So inside your box, there's going to be 3 sections, a foot plate, as well as a ring light. I'm going to go ahead and unbox this as if you were doing it yourself, and hopefully it's pretty easy to follow. So inside your box, the first thing that you're going to see is a lighter bubble wrap, and then you should see a ring light box. So in this ring light box is obviously your ring light, but then attached to your ring light is going to be your faceplate, as well as with inside the bag itself, there's going to be your power cord and any screws that go with the faceplate that you ordered. So this is the first thing that you will see when you open up your box. And you can just go ahead and put this off to the side for now. This will be actually the last thing that you attach to the booth, which I'll go over today further along in the video. So here's that. The next thing you're going to pull out of here is going to be a section that's wrapped in foam. The reason why we wrap it in foam is because of transport reasons, it keeps it safe. But this particular section, I'll just go ahead and open it up. Okay, this right here is the middle section piece. The way I know that is because you've got these 2 phalanges right here at the top, and then on the bottom, this will make more sense later, on the bottom you've got this empty space. Within the section itself, there's a cord that is attached to itself. For ease later, go ahead and unattach that cord, and that's the cord that's going to be attaching one section to another section. So we're just going to go ahead and put this down off to the side for a second, and we will get back to that later. We're just going to go ahead and unwrap this section real quick. Alright, so the next section right here, this is your bottom section. The way I know is because it's different from the middle section, in that on the bottom, instead of that empty open space, you've got these 2 phalanges that are poking towards the center of the column, and then there's also these 4 thumb screws. Those 4 thumb screws are what's going to be used to attach the foot plate to the bottom of this section. And for transport, I always put the screws back where I found them, just so I don't lose the screws. Some people like to put them in a bag, it's up to you, but this right here is your bottom section. Again, there's a cord inside this section as well. The reason for that being, we are going to attach this section to the middle section, so that when we go ahead and supply power to this booth, the power gets up to the top section, which is going to have all your wiring for either your iPad only or your DSLR faceplates. So that right there is the bottom section. The last section, not the last piece, but the last section inside the box, this right here is your head unit. So your head unit is where you're going to put all your stuff. Your stuff being your ring light power cord, your power strip, which I'll show you how to attach later, as well as like all your other cords that you would need to get your booth functional. So this is where all those cords will hide. There's a bunch of different mounting points. There's a bunch of different slots to put cords. So this is your head unit, and we'll be going more in depth into this piece right here a little bit later on in the video, but this is the part that goes on top of the booth. And I'll show you where to attach the power strip. The power strip is really easy to attach on here, but I will show you that later. Alright, and the final piece inside of your box is going to be your foot plate. So I'm going to go ahead and show that right now. So this right here is your foot plate. So this is what's going to attach to your bottom section. And I'm going to show you how to do that here in a second. But the way you know the orientation of this footplate when you go ahead and attach it to the booth. So you're going to have the bottom section flipped upside down. And when you attach this, you're going to also have this flipped upside down. And wherever this handle slot is located, that's going to be like your back of the booth kind of orientation. That's how you know what side's the back of the booth and what side's the front. The other thing that's going to dictate that is going to be the position where you put the head unit. I'll show you that later. So now we're just going to go ahead and grab our bottom section and our footplate, and we are going to attach them together, and I will show you that in the next clip. So off camera, what I did was I just went ahead and moved the box out of the way. And I grabbed all my little pieces for the booth itself. So basically what I did was I went ahead and I lined up all the pieces in the order that I'm going to be putting them together. So we're going to start with the bottom section and the footplate like I mentioned before. Alright, so here's my footplate. Okay. When we go ahead and we put it on the bottom section, which I'm going to show you here in a second, I'm going to be putting it on like this so that the feet are kind of sticking up towards the ceiling. This is because when you go and flip it over, you're going to want the feet to be on the ground. So I'm going to go ahead and start that process now. The other thing I'd like to show you is that inside these sections there are power cords or extension cords which you're going to end up using to provide power to the booth, which I will show you here in a minute when we're done like assembling the final structure. You're always going to want this end right here to be pointing up to the next section, and this end is going to point down to the previous section before it. And I'll go ahead and show you how we're going to connect the two sections here in a second. But I'm going to go ahead and put this in the booth like that. Flip it over. So there are 4 screws, like I showed you before. These 4 screws are what's going to hold the footplate to the bottom section itself. So I'm just going to go ahead and unscrew them real quick. I'm going to hide that for now. Eventually the power cord that was hanging there, that's just going to be plugged into the extension cord. And then that is what's going to provide power to the whole booth because of how the daisy chain cords. Now, where you put this little hole right here, this handle, that's going to dictate the back of the booth. So basically, I'm going to put it like this. So now, this side closest to me, this is going to be the back of my booth. It just looks cleaner on site. That's just how I trained my attendants that put these booths together. I train them to always put the handle towards the back of the booth. So that's just a personal preference. But we think it looks clean, so that's why we do it. So right now I'm just going to screw those 4 screws into the bottom of the bottom section. Okay. There you go. So now, like I said, this end is going to go down towards the ground. That end is going to go down towards the ground. This end is going to be poked up here because it's going to end up plugging into the next section, which is my my middle section. So now, again, I'm unscrewing 4 screws. These 4 screws are used to hold the sections together so they don't wobble back and forth. It provides sturdiness to the booth, and it protects it from like getting knocked over too easy. So same thing, we always plug our cord in like this because it just keeps it nice and clean inside the booth. So I'm just going to unplug this. This end I'm going to have go down towards the bottom of the middle section. This end's going to poke up at the top. Now, when I do this, before putting the next section over top these two phalanges, what I like to do is I kind of like to make a T. This allows you to easily plug in different sections. So I have the cord for the middle section right here, and then I have the cord for the bottom section right here. This is the end that should be poking up out of the bottom section. Just plug those two cords together. Okay. After plugging them together, I just pick it up, slide it right down over, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to screw the other 4 screws into the sides, like I mentioned before. So I'm just going to get the screws started. So, like you just saw, sometimes you're going to have to get the screws lined up a little bit. And once you do, they'll go right in. So now that we have the middle section attached, we're going to attach the head unit. So what I'm going to show you about the head unit in a second here is that since it's a brand new kiosk that you just bought, you're going to have to attach a power strip to the head unit to get the power to go somewhere. So I'm going to show you where we put the power strips in the head unit and how we orient the head unit. So, hang on one second. So I just unscrewed those 4 screws. I again have this end poking out the top, so the power strip that we attach is just going to plug in straight here. And then everything that has to do with like the iPad and some of you, the camera, the digital director, and the ring light, it's all going to end up plugging into that power strip, which is going to get power from an extension cord that we end up plugging into the bottom cord that's still on the bottom of this booth. I'm going to show you that in a second here. So right now I'm just going to put the head unit on, but I wanted to show you this because this is where I'm going to plug in the power strip. So again, I'm just screwing in the screws. Alright, so once I'm done with this, I'm going to go grab the power strip that I was talking about, but there are two mounting brackets right here that my fingers are on. These two mounting brackets, we're just going to use zip ties. And those zip ties we're going to wrap around the power strip and then secure it tightly to the back of the head unit. And that's where the power strip is going to rest. So I'm going to go do that real quick. I'm just going to go grab the zip ties and the power strip. So I'll be right back. Okay. So I now have my two power strips. I have my two zip ties, and then I also have the power strip that I'm going to be using to show you where I put the power strip within the booth. So give me 2 seconds, and I'm just going to do that real quick. All right. So, like I said, I'm just going to go ahead and plug this in right here. Feed the rest of the cord down the booth. And then I'm just going to get my zip ties prepped. Sometimes it takes a bit of a maneuver to get the power strip in, but once you get it in, it's going to stay right where you put it. Just putting it around the power strip, and then tightening it down. So after I have secured the power strip, there are these the excess of the zip ties. So all you use is a zip tie cutter. So I'm going to go grab that real quick, and then I'm going to cut these zip ties. But that's the structure of the booth, and that's how you put it together. I'm going to go grab the zip tie cutters, then I'm going to go ahead and cut these. Alright, so we made it this far. We built the entire structure. Now we just have to put the faceplate on. Before we put the faceplate on, we're going to be plugging in two cords, the faceplate power cord as well as the iPad power cord. Once we plug those two cords in, we're going to be using these two middle PEM nuts right here to attach the faceplate to the booth itself. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab the faceplate as well as the two screws to attach the faceplate to the booth. Alright, so now that you have your faceplate, what you're going to be doing is we're going to attach it to the booth. We provide a power cord for you to mount to the head unit. You can use either this bracket or this bracket right here to attach the physical power cord to the unit itself. And then you would plug it into the power strip that we attached as well. And then the end that goes into the ring light will go into this DC in port right here. I don't know if you can see that, but it goes into this DC in port right here. The other thing you want to do is make sure that the switch for the power is set to cable, and you want to make sure that these four red buttons are pushed in so that all four sections of the ring light illuminate, and then make sure that you use these dimming switches to turn the light on. Okay, so now we're going to attach the ring light to the booth as if I've plugged in the iPad as well as the ring light. Again, this particular faceplate is for a 10.5-inch iPad, so only a 10.5-inch faceplate or iPad will fit in this faceplate correctly. So there you go. Once you attach the faceplate to the booth, that's when I start to run power. Alright, so now that you have gotten your faceplate attached, we're going to go ahead and secure the power. So I have an extension cord over to my left that I have plugged into the wall. and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to be plugging it into the bottom of this booth. So remember how we had the male end of the cord that attaches section stick out the bottom? That's because we're going to be plugging in the extension cord to that end. After you plug that end in, you get this large block, basically. Just go ahead and lift the booth up to the side and stick it in the bottom. And once you do that, you have a nice, clean, straight cord that's going to be very easy for you to gaff tape. Alright, so you've made it to the end. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My name is Sean, I work for Booth Masters, and I hope you found this video helpful.